Welcome back to Things That Never Happened. Bedtime Stories for Adults Who Need Therapy. Narrated by yours truly, Nova. Tonight's story is called Airplane Mode. A story about emotional baggage, delayed departures, and one woman who accidentally achieved spiritual cruising altitude. Now dim the cabin lights, place your tray table in its upright position, and prepare for departure. Moxie knew something was strange the day she stopped arguing with people in her imagination. For years, she'd been conducting full courtroom trials inside her head. Exhibit A. What she should have said was Exhibit B. What they should have said was Exhibit C. The devastating comeback she'd think of 3 days later while shampooing her hair. Then one morning she woke up and simply didn't care. The argument department had shut down. The office was empty. The employees all gone. Someone had stolen the copier. It was eerie. At first she thought something was wrong. Then she realized she'd accidentally switched herself into airplane mode. Not the phone setting, the soul setting. See, most people think airplane mode means disconnecting. It doesn't. It means you've risen above the signal towers. Moxie had spent years unpacking emotional baggage, resentment, fear, validation, addiction, the giant carry-on labeled potential, and the suspiciously heavy daily use travel bag called people-pleasing. One by one, she'd unpack them. Eventually, she found herself somewhere above the clouds. Not literally, but metaphorically. She was cruising at about 55,000 feet. And that's when she discovered a sad truth. Not everyone has a passport to be able to travel where she was going. First, this wasn't a real passport. This was a growth passport. A mind over matter type passport, if you will. A tiny invisible booklet stamped with things like accountability, self-awareness, emotional regulation, healing, boundaries, therapy. The caution, proceed slowly because life did not come with a manual stamp. You'd be amazed at how many people show up at the gate looking to travel with her, yet holding nothing but audacity. Some people wanted to board Moxie's flight carrying 12 suitcases of unresolved childhood trauma and a gallon-sized bag of denial, disrespect, and disregard. This airline had rules. It had structure. Sorry. Only one personal and one emotional support breakthrough per passenger was allowed. On We've Got Spirit Intergalactic Time Travel Airlines. Others arrive with expired documents, too many children. Yes, I mean, no, the kiddos are not allowed on this trip either. I'd like to come with you, someone shouted from the back. From the back of what or wherever, we don't know. Wonderful, Moxie shouted, with exclamation, because there's an exclamation point at the end of the sentence. Moxie looked at the direction of where she assumed he was talking and asked, "Passport?" To which he responded, "I blame everybody for everything. Denied. Next. Passport. I refuse to grow. Denied. Next. Passport. I communicate exclusively through mixed signals and confusion. Sir, security needs to speak with you right now." Now, Moxie didn't judge them. Everybody's journey is different. But some people were over 40 and still standing in the line at the Department of Self-Awareness and Reflection. Some had filled out the forms but forgot to sign them. Some were arguing with airport staff because they believed healing was a conspiracy. But eventually, she learned something important. You can love people deeply and still leave the gate without them. Because if the plane is leaving for a destination called peace, and somebody keeps insisting on flying to chaos, that's not a relationship problem. That's a scheduling conflict. Of course, there was turbulence. Some days, old fears would shake the cabin. Some days, loneliness would hit a pocket of rough air. Some days, she'd look out the window and wonder if she'd descend back to where everyone else was. Oh, how they must think she was too high up now, she thought. Maybe she'd been too harsh, she thought. Maybe she should have waited for someone, she thought. Maybe she should just postpone the flight. Maybe she should drag someone aboard who clearly didn't want to go, and maybe they'd be okay once they arrived. But every time she considered turning around, the flight attendant would appear, and the flight attendant was her intuition. And she always carried the same message. Ma'am, you are not responsible for teaching passengers how to fly. That one hit hard, because Moxie had spent years trying to upgrade people who hadn't even checked in. They'd only opt to receive standby tickets, just in case they changed their mind. Some even asked for a rain check, do-over, and if she had a last-minute cancellation policy. Trying to convince other passengers they deserve first-class lives while they were actively setting fire to their boarding passes was exhausting work, with terrible benefits and 0 vacation days. So eventually, she stopped. She adjusted her seat, opened the window shade, and enjoyed the view flying solo. The funny thing about altitude is that from up there, everything looks smaller. The drama, the grudges, the jealousy, the envy, the gaslighting, the opinions, the people who misunderstood her, the people who left, and the ones who forced her hand, the people who just simply couldn't come. All tiny, not important from up there, just smaller than she'd made them. And for the first time in years, she realized the destination had never been another person. The destination was herself. And everything else had simply been connecting flights and layovers. And that, my friends, was the story of airplane mode. Remember, these things never happen because they're not real, baby. But if you've been feeling a little disconnected lately, maybe you're not losing your signal. Maybe you're just gaining altitude. Good night. Sayonara. And aloha.